What's up, everybody? Welcome to FoundFlix. On this Ending Explained, we're looking at the 6th entry in the VHS franchise, VHS 85. This time, things are unveiled through a made-for-TV documentary featuring 5 tales of found footage horrors to take viewers on a terrifying journey into the grim underbelly of the 1980s. VHS 85 is a surprisingly strong entry in the franchise, with most of the segments being quite unique and memorable. Well, except for one that might actually be my least favorite in the entire series. See if you can guess which one it is. A big part of this success must be due to the fact that there is a more consistent tier of filmmakers this time out, including the return of David Bruckner, back since doing a segment in the first film, along with the sinister team of Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill, who craft a very haunting segment. There's also a wider variety of styles and stories, covering everything from aliens, serial killers, and ancient Aztec gods. Overall, this is probably one of the most consistent in the entire series. So let's check out VHS 85, breaking down each segment, explaining the endings, as well as how the story all ties together. Static gives way to various of the time footage, things like monster truck rallies or the invention of the cochlear implant. Feeling as though we are flipping through cable channels appropriately, big thing at the time in the 80s, the video then becomes a TV news magazine show called Total Copy, which begins our wraparound about a mysterious young boy, Rory. He's seen staring blankly at a TV, the host saying that when he was first found he was happy as a Happy Meal, but now things have changed, not just for the scientists involved, but for the world at large, seeing the boy glued to an exercise video. Our first tape kicks on following a group of kids on a fateful trip to the countryside. A ways down the road, they come to a no trespassing sign, which is of no concern to them, simply moving it out of the way. Problem solved. They get settled in, and our camera guy Rob discovers another sign by the water warning of no swimming, along with no fireworks and pretty much, well, no fun. He takes in the vista of the water and notices Robin nearby watching too. She catches him filming and he retreats shyly. He then finds an animal carcass and Robin confronts him about the unwanted filming. He stammers he's filming everything and offers for her to take a test tape. To his surprise, she wants to see the dead squirrel too, despite finding it gross. He returns to the spot it was moments ago, but strangely the body has disappeared. They decide to go swimming and a few stay behind. Kelly dives excitedly into the water and they head out onto the lake. She's the first one to try water skiing, and after a few failed attempts manages to find her balance. Robin and Rob seem a little flirty, giggling and making eyes at each other, and she wants to take a try too. She gets nervous and wants to give up, but Rob jumps in to lend a hand, the others finding all this so cute. She gets in position, and when they get the boat going, she sinks right under. She starts wanting to give up, and the others encourage her to give it one more try. They look back to the shore and something seems off. The others are missing, and there's a mysterious pickup truck that they don't know parked there as well. Robin tries again and does get it going, screaming in excitement. There's a loud pop and she instantly drops the rope, falling into the water. They go to retrieve her, seeing blood streaming around her. Another bullet fires, getting Kevin in the back, and another goes right through his head. They hurry to get down for cover and the others are all quickly taken out. The shots keep coming, whizzing through the air all around them. One blows Rob's finger right off and he begins to panic. An injured Drew tells him that he's gonna have to get the boat started. They have to! He crawls towards the front and when going for the motor, bullets rip right through it. He cautiously peeks out to see how far the shore is, and they plan to use the boat as a cover, him swimming alongside to take them to shore. He asserts that they are gonna be okay, they just have to stay low. But no such luck. The shooter starts firing through the boat and Rob is taken out. A few other bullets rip through Drew, and all the kids are dead. Shockingly, a few moments pass and Drew comes back to life, followed by Rob. Even Kelly, who got her jaw torn off, and Robin have somehow returned to consciousness. Also oddly, Kevin does not come back. Wonder why that is. On the shore, they notice that the truck is gone. Drew then opens his life jacket and unfortunately spills out all of his guts. It doesn't hurt, he says, but it just feels weird. Then on the RV, they notice the Roman numeral for 7 spelled in what sure looks like blood. They check the tent and discover that Rob's sister and the mustache dude are dead. Rob breaks down. Why is she dead and we're not? Are we zombies or something? Robin doesn't think that makes any sense. They are all talking, and based on their injuries, even if they were zombies, should still be technically dead, shot through the head and whatnot. Drew puts things together. Those that stayed dead didn't go in the water while they did, implying the water actually healed them, in a sense. Rob starts sobbing over his sister's demise, and she's talking about magic water. What the fuck, bro? Then they can't help but wonder what they're supposed to do now. Just go home and act like nothing happened? This isn't normal, he says. Robin wonders if they got the plates on the truck. Perhaps they could then track the shooter down. To kill them? No, but to do to them exactly what they did to us. More on that that later. Then it's back to an update with Rory, learning that he was found alone on top of a butte. The scientists monitoring him have been undergoing several tests. The boy seemed comfortable in his new home, but would never ever leave the couch, one of many questions being investigated. It's Dr. Spratling in charge of the case, who wants to know what it is he is even doing here. He believes that their first step is communication, so they are showing our culture from a safe distance through that of the TV. Hopefully they can initiate some sort of dialogue to understand the boy and his motivations. All Dr. Spratling says he wants is to have a conversation. The next tape begins with a warning from the Mexican government informing us that it's highly classified. We're dropped right into the middle of a filming of a low-budget news show, and the host Lucia bickers with her longtime cameraman Luis. They check in with the new girl Gabriella out in the streets, who is on the verge of making her TV debut. She weirdly offers that a wise old hag once told her to smile like a queen, but with the confidence of a bitch. Wise words indeed. She starts setting up for a tour of classic buildings later in the day, and the broadcast is abruptly cut. Back in the studio, everything begins to rumble, which becomes increasingly violent. They aren't sure what to do, and Luis urges the others to stay calm. The earthquake resides, and Luis regains consciousness, straining for the camera. He pans around the studio, discovering that he is the only survivor. The door is then busted down by a rescue team that get him free from the debris. The team informs him that the building is collapsing and they need to get outside now. They run through the crumbling building, and via a glance outside, the whole city is erupted in chaos. Another tremor shakes them up, and the walls start to crack. Unluckily, the exit door is blocked. They work together, navigating a live wire to get it open. There's more bad luck with another blocked door, followed by an aftershock. Thanks to that, Javier manages to get a rod jammed right through his gut. They don't want to leave him behind, and Kara becomes emotional. He reminds her of their creed, first me, then you. They hand her a crowbar to put him out of his misery, and she does so through tears. The others have to drag her away, Kara quite upset over the loss. They climb into some ducts, entering complete darkness. They crack open some glow sticks and crank on the camera light. Kara is really broken up about Javier, but they gotta keep going. Luis tasks her to take over filming duties because of his injured hands. They continue on, and Luis lets out a fart, the guy behind him cursing him. But he can't help but laugh, and the others soon join in on the laughter of the mad. There's a sudden drop out of nowhere, sending them tumbling down to another floor. Kara hands back the camera, hearing demonic screeching up ahead. The team assume that it must be someone trapped, and they are obligated to investigate. Even if it's a demonic screech, does not sound human. They enter an area, smoke overtaking their vision. Luis pulls back his hand, now covered in an odd white substance. Old Hispanic paintings line the wall, and Luis has trouble with the camera. He gets it working, and a statue spooks him. It can't be, he mumbles. It seems that he recognizes the subject of the statue, and that, along with the walls made of skulls, makes it look like they've stumbled into its lair. Another crack tears through the ceiling. There's another larger symbol on the wall. Luis knows that it must be Mictlan, an ancient Aztec god of death which rules over the underworld. One guy, Eddie, stares intently at the display and begins convulsing. Mictlan, he groans. Our god has risen from the underworld, and our king must be compensated. He's gotta be fed. He takes the crowbar to his buddy's throat. The god appears in the flesh and rips out Eddie's heart, gratefully munching it down. Kara grabs his hand to flee, but Mictlan gets Luis first, catching glimpses of the monster. He gets a bad bump on the noggin, hearing emergency sirens outside. He retrieves the camera, strangely seeing he's by himself and the bodies have vanished. Kara then reappears, now possessed, praying to our almighty powerful lord, rattling off his many names. She lunges at Luis and tears out his heart, and then falls to her knees in offering to her god. Mictlan receives the heart, and more rumbles take over. Rise, she growls loudly, and the entire building crumbles in on itself. In the aftermath, Gabriella describes this as one of the most terrifying events in the country's history. This will be a day to remember. I'll say, Mictlan is back, and who knows what he's got planned next. Probably eating a lot more hearts. Rory's group of scientists are growing frustrated by lack of progress, but everything changed in a moment. They rush to his room, discovering that he has begun mutating into something resembling a human body. Another doctor, Dr. Grayson, expresses her concerns over this development. She does find Spratling to be brilliant, but he also conversely never knew when to not pick up the snake. They found something that could mimic anything it laid its eyes on. That should have raised enough concern to enact stricter protocols. She chalks it up to Spratling projecting humanity onto things that are not human. However, we humans typically treat our intelligent life horribly, so why should we expect Rory to feel any empathy towards us? We now move on from ancient gods to futuristic ones, and the theater stage set Techno God. Ada takes the stage and sighs to the camera. Here we go. She takes silent steps down to center stage and holds up her arms. She asks, "Who here believes in God?" No one responds, so she asks again, and a few raise their hands tentatively. "Oh yeah, which one?" "Well, no matter which one, your God is dead." She snarks that it's really no surprise. With everyone's increasing obsessions with computers and robots, they went and killed God themselves. But they also created a new God, a God of, wait for it, technology. She clicks on a video with a guy showing off his latest invention, the Techno glove. Basically, through the gloves and a helmet, it allows you to interact directly with the digital world, or as he says, exist in two different dimensions at the same time. He shows off grabbing a cup to drink his digital coffee, boasting this is the future. Yeah, I can't wait to try some digital coffee. What? Isn't all this just basically VR anyway? Ada scowls that this is all their fault. You killed the gods worshipped for eons and replaced them with Techno gloves and iPhones. She leaves the stage, retrieving the very same device from the video. She says we are trying to block our vision of the real world and replace it with a digital mirror of our own creation. She considers, would you want to see what's reflected back onto us? She straps on the equipment and tells the others they're going to speak in the Techno god's language in order to communicate with them. That is, if it even exists, she scoffs. She goes on that the god would require summoning, like a child waiting to be woken from a nap by its mother. Rise and shine for our baby boy born of hate, she commands. Ugh, terrible. She arrives at a platform and a digital cityscape comes into shape. She whooshes air into the microphone, which heavily reverberates over the speakers. She makes more weird noises and wheezes, and I'm pretty sure the audience, if they paid anything, is right about now going, this was not worth it. She keeps trying to get the god to respond and calls him simply a myth over and over. The screen begins flickering with green interference. She rounds a digital corner, still yelling for him to wake up and show yourself. The video goes wonky, and lights start pulsing in the realm. There's a flash of a bizarre low-res creature, and the audience murmurs at the sight. Ada senses something isn't right, seeing it zipping around inside the other structures and snarling. She tugs at her helmet, but finds that it's stuck on tight. She grunts with more effort, but it will not budge. The god reappears and lifts her into the air. She swipes at its face, and it drops her. It retaliates with a claw slap, injuring her in the real world. She removes her glove and sees that her hand is gone for real. It attacks again, tearing the flesh from her leg. It goes for the other, ripping it clean off. Ava screams in horror, and she drops to the floor in a lump. The audience doesn't know what to make of it and go in tight on her face. They remove the helmet, revealing that she has been French fried. The crowd loves it, erupting into cheers and applause. Well, too bad she can only do that show once. Oh, did you know technology bad? Ugh. Our next clip from Top Copy is quite short, seeing that Rory has continued his mutation, now sporting several tentacle-like limbs called feelers. We then move on to a family party being taped by teenage Ruthie. She dips around the room, filming various family members saying hi, and another aunt congratulates her on the big day. One cousin, James, makes quite an impression with his monstrous mullet, inquiring about the camera. He wants to try it out, and Ruth does some poses for him. Outside, others gush. She's gonna make some guy real happy one of these days. And her little brother appears, shooting her with a squirt gun to his delight. They ask where he got it from, and the boy says some lady in an RV gave it to him. Ruth is baffled, looking outside just in time to see an RV mysteriously drive away. Any other RVs we've seen so far? Ruth's mom addresses the crowd, thanking everyone for coming out to celebrate. They are here because they are family, and with family comes history and tradition, which dates back until, well, even before Grandpa Art, she jokes. They now continue the tradition with her daughter Ruth. She gets teary-eyed with pride, continuing she's thrilled they can keep practicing their traditions out of sight for so many years. Ruth gives her mom a big old hug and takes over the stage. She states that families celebrate all kinds of milestones, things like baptisms or bar mitzvahs, but we Wrigley's do something a little different, right? Wink. To the 7, she cheers, and the whole room hold up their arms, showing off a Roman numeral of 7 tattoos. And we definitely know we saw that same 7 on the gang's RV back in the first segment. She then drops the mask, revealing that they are all in fact a family of killers. That's their family tradition. She boasts of claiming 7 lives in unique ways, hoping that it brings honor, strength, and pride to the family, everyone bursting into applause. She wants to show off her work in a radical new way, not photos or a projector, but via videotape. Woo, high tech. She plays the tape narrating that she found this group at a gas station, and it is definitely the same kids from the first segment. She follows them to the lakeside and now know it was her truck that they saw from the boat. She sets her camera up, smiling at the lens first, and then fires off a shot. The 2 kids in the tent pop out, and she takes them out in cold blood to excitement from the viewers. She turns to the camera with a demented grin. 2 down, 5 to go. We know how the rest goes, but the family won't get to see, as the presentation is interrupted by police pounding at the door, shouting they have the whole place surrounded. Panic sets in, yet mom stays stoic. This is it. We know what to do. And she proceeds to hand out guns to everyone in the family of all sorts and sizes. She tells her daughter to fight and don't let them take you alive. Don't disgrace the family name. The aunts and uncles all open fire, one unleashing the timeless one-liner, "Who wants a brownie, bitch?" James thinks they should leave while she's blinded by her obligations. Chaos erupts, spilling into the house. Mom backs up firing an Uzi and is blown away in a hail of bullets. Ruth tries to get James to man up with his own gun, but he refuses. In that case, she tells him sorry and shoots him dead. She dives for cover by her bed and gets a few shots off before being torn to shreds. The officers all come in and already know that she's gone, but are shocked. She couldn't be more than 15 years old. A nurse comes in later and Ruth springs back to life and begins to take out everyone in sight. She checks herself out, touching her face in confusion. How is she alive? The cops return, demanding she drop the weapon and carry her away, Ruthie screaming for help. If it isn't clear yet, we see a moment with Robin filling up a squirt gun with water from the magic lake, Rob wondering if this will work. Well, it sure did. This is a clever way to tie these two stories together, and now we know the kids did get their revenge. They were able to make Ruth experience the same zombification that they did, but also got her whole crazy murdering family taken care of to boot. Now that's revenge. Now word from this week's sponsor, Factor. This spring is the perfect time to try out Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. If you're like me, it's hard to take the time to cook a meal, but fortunately, Factor's meals are ready to eat in only 2 minutes. Anyone can make time for that. It couldn't be easier or faster to get a delicious chef-crafted meal at home. There is no prep and no mess either. Just heat it up and you're good to go. Factor also has a ton of different options for more discerning eaters with things like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or vegan and veggie options. They got you covered for more than dinner too, with 60 different add-ons to choose from each week, including breakfast, quick lunches, and snacks. So why not give Factor a try for yourself? As a special offer for our viewers, head to factormeals.com/ending50 and use code ending50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's code ending50 at factormeals.com/ending50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. Rory has continued to evolve, seeing Polaroids of his changing forms. The host relays that they don't know what prompted him to change, but what came next shocked the entire team. His cocoon wavers, sprattling, showing off the footage to others. His face starts coming into a familiar formation. Is that Gary? Someone asks. Sprattling beams that he is a special boy and asks if anyone wants to see the footage again. One person that definitely does not is Gary, looking absolutely horrified. They have a meeting and Grayson once more voices her concerns here. He doesn't see the worry, however. He just sees something and replicates it. What's the big deal? The problem is Gary hasn't ever been in Rory's room, meaning that he can see through their one-way mirror and has been watching them the whole time. Uh-oh. Spratling continues to disagree, feeling this is truly a miracle they are witnessing. They are making contact after all. Grayson looks back on the inevitable bloodshed to come, saying that the doctor didn't deserve what happened to him, along with the others that he took along with him. Our final segment, Dream Kill, reunites Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill, the team behind Sinister, and this segment feels in some ways like a spiritual successor to their earlier work. In a good way, I mean. From a killer's POV, he slinks through the dark neighborhood streets. He approaches a front door, hearing someone on the line with 911, freaking out about the break-in. She pleads to send someone as they bust in the front door. The dispatcher urges her to stay calm, and you might want to close the bedroom door. The killer digs through a drawer downstairs, settling in on an electric carving knife. Hearing her stomping around upstairs, he tells her to hide, and Karen dives under the bed. The killer scans the halls and pushes her bedroom doors open. The film goes in and out a few times, seeing Karen whimpering under the bed. He grabs her by the hair and jams the carver into her neck. He then takes a razor blade and gouges out her eyeballs. Later, a pair of detectives are investigating the house, and it looks strangely familiar to Wayne. He realizes someone actually sent in a video of the murder to the station a week ago. But how? He comes to the bed and now knows for sure Wayne saw this murder happen, now understanding that the tape was definitely real, but he doesn't know what all this means just yet. He researches where the tape came from and tracks it down to a public mailbox, which was caught on video. Another kill tape starts with the killer on the hunt for his next victim. He makes quick work of the door with a lockpick and is quickly inside. A dude attacks him with a golf club and the pair get into a big tussle. Vignetting takes over and the killer slices off his fingers. The killer then tosses him downstairs into a sunken living room. The man still does his best to fend the attacker off. The nightmares, a voiceover grumbles. The killer tosses the dude into a glass table and it looks like the guy is done. done. He proceeds to fillet him and the grain becomes more aggressive. The cops are there again after the fact and a pattern is definitely emerging. They got another tape 3 days ago and it's the same electric knife from the first murder. Wayne is still stumped on what it means outside of the guy being a time traveler or something. It is giving him the heebie-jeebies. All this making him think that the devil could be real. They get a hold of security footage seeing a guy in a parka dropping off the tape and wandering off. Thusly, they stake out at the mailbox and wait for the kid to return. They spot him dropping off another package and manage to chase him down. They take the goth boy Gunther into custody to be interrogated and surprisingly learn that he is Bobby's son. They press him about the tapes. Why send them here and where did he get them? And perhaps most importantly, how did he show 2 murders before they even happened? Gunther spills that he got a camcorder as a present and started recording things off the TV. Then a few months ago, he started seeing other things on the screen. At first it was just colored random flashes, but after some time became images that he could recognize. From where, they ask? From his dreams, he replies, leaving his dad rubbing his head in frustration. They ask again in disbelief. The recorder started recording your dreams? And Gunther maintains that is the case. He had a dream featuring the murder and it then came true. Wayne still doesn't believe him, but Bobby confirms that he does in fact have prophetic dreams. He's seen it in action himself. He'll have a dream and later it comes true exactly as described. In fact, it's something that runs in a family. His sister had the same ability and it drove her bananas. They return to talk with Gunther further, curious why he wouldn't have given the tapes to his cop dad. According to Gunther, his dad gets mad if he even brings up his odd gift. They show off the latest tape that he was dropping off, and as for what's on it, Gunther encourages them to just watch it. It's a killer up to his old tricks, hearing a woman screaming inside a house. The POV glides through the interior, hearing a saw blade and more screams. They then come to a bloody body completely dismembered. He rewinds the tape and they are able to get the address, and thanks to some landmarks seen in the window's reflection are able to determine the exact location. Once they arrive, they debate how to broach the touchy subject. Sorry, you're gonna get dismembered soon? However, there is something else that Wayne has discovered. Bobby actually was connected to the previous victims. He denies it, but Wayne knows that they actually filed suits against him, which caused him to lose his job. Bobby knows that he's been fleeced, and even though Wayne gives him a chance to tell the truth, he elects to shoot his partner in the head instead, and then proceeds to follow through with the dismembering. Back at the station, Gunther is asleep and suddenly wakes up. Perhaps he had another dream. He gets to his feet and goes right for the camera, rewinding back to the earlier interrogation. The same killer POV style takes over in the room with him. He goes to the camera and waves his arm. I just dreamed this, he determines. That moment repeats on the other camera, followed by him crying no, along with a loud bang. The door opens to his dad covered in blood. He knows that it was him responsible for the murders now, and Bobby intends to frame his son. Gunther knows better, he just dreamed this and he knows exactly what's gonna happen. Other officers show up to try and put a stop to him, only to get obliterated one by one. About to return to tend with his son, Gunther surprises him with a bullet through the forehead. We then return to Total Copy one final time where Rory isn't moving, Spratling assuming that he must be sick. The others further doubt his actions. If Rory is intelligent, he could very well have been manipulating the doctor the entire time. You think? It was at this moment that Grayson knew she had to get out of there, but strangely no one else left alongside her. For months, no one knew exactly what befell the crew, but the show was able to get a copy showing off the raw footage. Spratling sends Gary into the room with a big needle of adrenaline. He's worried about how Rory will react, and the doc encourages him to go slowly. Gary spots his feeler tentacle thing out, and the doc orders him to keep going, Gary inching closer. The tentacle wraps tight around his arm, and Spratling suggests to slowly loosen its grip. Gary starts freaking. It's getting tighter on his arm, and he wants out now. Spratling has an idea, trying to directly address Rory, certain that he can understand him. It's all about communication, right? He places his hand on the glass, asking if he remembers him. Rory topples over, now in his final form of a monstrous creature of some sort. They sound the alarms, and Spratling approaches the door. They try to separate him, and another feeler is then around his leg too. It pulls him in deeper, seeing Rory is a mass of mouths and tentacles and just weirdness. More wrap all around his body, and Spratling gives up. They let him go, and he slides back into the room, hearing his bones crunching. The camera guy tries to save a lady, and another feeler takes her out. Spratling rushes to the next door, but there's too much blood on the sensor and it won't open. A tentacle looms down the hall as they frantically keep trying the door. A feeler snags the camera guy, followed by his blood spilling out, and he drops to the floor. In one final desperate attempt at communicating with Rory, Spratling calmly suggests things don't have to go this way. Turns out he was completely wrong about the thing, as Grayson warned. It didn't give a shit about being pals. It takes him out with a feeler, choking him to death. Rory brings the camera guy's body, along with others, and places them in front of the the TV. He then uses them as puppets of sorts, moving their bodies with his feelers to imitate the exercise movements on screen. See? He did learn from TV. There's your culture. That'll wrap things up for now, but why not check out this video over here and keep on watching the earlier entries in the VHS series. Until next time, thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you then.